Hello, my name is Azim Majid, and I'm a returning citizen. I was born and raised in Norfolk, Virginia. I have 13 siblings. Seven of us were born to my mother. We grew up in the same household. My mother, she was a wonderful lady. She did the best that she could to like raise us and provide for us. And, but unfortunately, I got caught up in the streets of Norfolk. I sought refuge in the street. I struggled with issues as a child in terms of like anger issues. I really like didn't know how to like really articulate whatever it is that I felt was harming me. If I felt like someone was like, transgressing beyond bounds as it, related to me, I didn't know how to express that. If I was depressed, I didn't know how to put a label on that particular emotion. So ultimately, I didn't know how to put labels on any emotions that I was experiencing internally, and I didn't know how to articulate it. So what I would do, a lot of times I would react, and I would react. Sometimes I would react with my hands. Sometimes I would react verbally. So as I said, I dealt with depression as a child, and and I used to like really like drink a lot. And people told me when I was younger that I had an issue with drinking because sometimes when I drink in my anger, it mixed, and a lot of times, something would happen, and I would have blackouts at times. So, and I was, charged with capital murder, 2 counts of robbery, malicious wounding, and assault and battery. And I had no recollection of the crime whatsoever. And everything that I knew about the crime, it was something that someone else said about the crime. When people testified against me, what they would say took place on the night of the crime. This is my memory of what took place. And I was pretty much, disgusted. I didn't want to accept the fact that I could commit such a brutal crime. I didn't want to accept that because I knew that's not who I was and that's not who I wanted to be. And so the state sought to like transfer my case to the Norfolk Circuit Court. I was 17 at the time. They sought to transfer my case to the Norfolk Circuit Court to try me as an adult. So a certification hearing was held in the Norfolk Juvenile and Domestic Relations District Court. In the certification, at the certification hearing, the Commonwealth Attorney's motion was granted, which means that now it gave the circuit court judge the power, the authority, or jurisdiction to try me as an adult. I went to the Norfolk Circuit Court. I was tried for capital murder. I was convicted of capital murder, robbery, malicious wounding, and assault and battery. And the state sought to sentence me to death. 8 jurors voted for death. I was fighting for my life. Yes, I was scared. I was even more scared for my mother on how, this trial in a sentence impacted her. And, but in Virginia, the way that it happens, if 1 juror vote for life and the other 11 jurors vote for death, then you have to get life. And I received a mandatory 2 consecutive life without parole sentences plus 29 years to serve in the Virginia Department of Corrections. I was devastated. I was devastated. At this particular time, I couldn't see beyond that sentence. As I said, I was given a sentence that pretty much took away hope, didn't give me a release date. I wouldn't be eligible for parole because the day that the crimes took place, which was on January 1st, 1995, that was the first day that Virginia abolished parole. So this was like the perfect storm for a hopeless sentence. I was sent to the Virginia Department of Corrections. Immediately, I started, putting forth the effort to evolve into a better version of myself. I wanted to find out who I was, so I developed, a healthier relationship with my Creator. I became more faithful. I started helping other individuals evolve into better versions of themselves, helping other individuals become more educated. And I learned that the more that I found my purpose whenever I help other individuals find their purpose and to evolve into better versions of themselves. And I started learning that through that education and through that acquisition of knowledge, I learned that I loved it, right? when I was younger, I dropped out of school, right? But I learned that while I was incarcerated, that I really had this love and thirst for education, because I started seeing that whenever I implemented whatever it is that I learned, I felt more empowered, right? And as I said earlier, when I empower other people, that empowered me. So I started studying law. I started learning about law. Early in my incarceration, I was transferred to Red Onion State Prison. I was able to, well, first, this was one of the most challenging experiences throughout my incarceration. My time spent at Red Onion State Prison and my time spent at Wallace Ridge State Prison. And it was challenging because this was the first time that I was away from my family for so long. And, we were so many hours away from Norfolk, Virginia, that my family couldn't come see me. And I wasn't used to that. As I told you, I was still a child. And many people, I really love my mom. It's I haven't went that long without seeing her before. So that impacted me on another level. That really, I can't even really articulate it, how it made me feel, that emptiness, and, she was very instrumental in keeping me happy, even though I struggled with issues as a youth. I knew that she cared about me, so I cared about how my incarceration impacted her. But while I was housed at Red Onion State Prison, I was able to secure my GED. I got my GED. I felt empowered when I got that. I was so excited. I remember when I sent my certificates home, and to see how proud it made my mother feel, that just made me want to continue embarking on my path towards, obtaining a higher education. But what was so challenging about Red Onion State Prison was I was in a situation where I was serving a hopeless sentence, and you would spend so much time inside of a cell, you had to deal with yourself, right? In that cell. You had to look at who you were. You had to look in the mirror, and you saw the ugly things about yourself that you really didn't want to see. You had to see it, and you had to face it. And either one or two things are going to happen. Either you're going to continue to ignore it and you're going to blow, or you're going to look at it and you're going to work on it and you're going to fix it and you're going to grow. So I chose to look at it, fix it, and grow. And this is how I spent my time while I was at Red Onion State Prison early in my incarceration. When I was transferred to Wallace Ridge State Prison, which was another challenging experiences. I'm not going to get into all of my, challenges that I endured while I was there. But, I try to focus on, some of the good in a hopeless situation. Right? See, because my story is not one, as I tell people all the time, my story is not a story of addiction, it's a story of recovery, right? My story is not a story of imprisonment, it's a story of freedom, right? See, because I found so much hope in a hopeless situation. It's not a story of hopelessness, it's a story of hope, right? So while I was there, I was able to get enrolled into the custodial maintenance program. I got my custodial maintenance certification. And this is very important why I highlight these opportunities that I, took advantage of, is because when they became available to me, I grabbed onto them. And with the type of sentence that I was sentenced to serve, when you enter into the DOC with life sentences without parole, the educational opportunities that are available to you are limited simply because the sentence that you're serving. The educational opportunities are afforded to those who have release dates first, those who are eligible for parole first. So now it's if you're not ready, right? If you're not ready, those opportunities are going to pass you by. So when they become available, you got to be ready and you got to grab hold of them. And that's what I did. I was always looking for opportunities to become more educated. I even saved my money up. I would have my sister send me money, and I would take distance educational programs. And this was, very important because I was still at that age in which my brain was still developing. So I was more susceptible to the influences of positive education. And, so that was very important to me. I was preparing myself for this moment right here. Right? I was preparing myself for every single opportunity that I took advantage of when I re-entered society. But I'm going to back up. So the importance of, I was transferred to Nottoway Correctional Center, and I was at various different prisons in between that particular time. But this was a pivotal moment in my journey because it was at this time where I was able to foster some wonderful relationships with people out in society and different organizations that was advocating for the fair sentencing of juveniles and advocating for giving juvenile offenders second chances. So through these relationships that I was able to forge, I was able to secure, some legal representation for some phenomenal people whom I still have wonderful relationships with today. And phenomenal people who was even able to assist me with my reentry. And so I was able to receive this assistance, and I ended up filing a federal habeas corpus, well, a motion for authorization to file a second or successive habeas corpus, which was granted, and then I was able to file a second or successive habeas corpus in which the federal court judge declared my life sentences to be unconstitutional. And she remanded my case back to the Norfolk Circuit Court for a resentencing hearing. Between the time that my habeas corpus was granted and the time that I actually got a resentencing hearing, a lot of different events took place, which I'm not gonna go into those different events, like a lot of different motions that I had to file in the Norfolk Circuit Court, and it was a lot. So, but eventually at this particular time, I was housed at Sussex One State Prison. So I'm housed at Sussex One State Prison. I'm still waking up every day. I'm coming out. I'm giving it my all, right? I'm still helping people, right? Waiting for my resentencing hearing, and it still didn't come. And I was offered an opportunity while I was housed at Sussex One State Prison to serve as an elder or mentor in the Cognitive Community Reentry Program. And initially, I said, let me think about this, because I didn't know if this is something that I was, up to. I didn't know if, I could take on that particular challenge and be successful, especially with everything that I was dealing with in my personal life at that particular moment in terms of battling for my freedom and waiting on my resentencing hearing. So, but I was faced with this particular thought. I know that, I got another opportunity to earn my freedom, but do I be selfish in this moment? And I know it's a time that you can be selfish, so do I take advantage of this particular opportunity and to help other individuals who have an opportunity to get out back into society and help them be successful in their transition? Eventually, I think about a month later, I made the decision to accept the job, to accept the function. I'm not even gonna say job, I'm gonna say the function and the responsibility, because it's something that I enjoy doing, but doing it on that particular level, it was different, right? Now, mind you, I felt I was completely rehabilitated before I entered into the cognitive community, right? I did every single thing that I could do to rehabilitate myself. But when I entered into the cognitive community, everything that I thought that I knew about myself in terms of being ready to re-enter society, it was exposed, right? It was exposed, right? So it's a different, I believe that I was ready to enter society, but there's a difference between being ready and being prepared, right? And even though I was preparing myself, the reality is I can honestly stand before you all today to say that I don't believe that I was prepared, right? I was ready and I was preparing myself. And here's what I mean. When I entered into the cognitive community, I learned that this particular community, it was a 24-hour-a-day pro-social environment. It's little things. It's not the big things that you have to look at. It's the little things that goes on inside of your mind. And I'm gonna give you an example. Before entering into the cognitive community, I didn't commit crimes, right? I didn't do, anybody that know me would tell you I prevent violence while I was in prison. That's what I spent my life doing, right? Trying to prevent violence, prevent people from committing crimes, helping people earn a second chance, litigating for individuals, if it could help you, I was doing it, Like I literally, day in and day out, that's what I done. But I still had this thing. Let's say if I went into the child hall and they just, let's say it was a tray, an extra tray that was being pushed through the slot. Would I grab it? I wasn't stealing it, but somebody just giving me that tray, right? Most people, when we look at this, we look at it like, it's nothing wrong with that. Reality, the state paying for it and somebody giving it to you, right? Or you just snatching the tray and taking it to your table. The reality is that I would have took that tray, even though I wasn't a thief and I wasn't stealing. See, but most people, what we would do, we would look at like the fact that it's a tray with, I might just want the cookies off the tray. It's something insignificant. But that's not what we look at. We look at the thinking that goes into that. See, the thinking is what gets you in trouble, right? So this is what gets you in trouble. See, because you can think if I'm out in society and I'm on probation, right? And I'm up in the store, and then I'm in the store, and then there's a 26 stick of bubble gum, right? And I got money in my pocket, right? And I got money in my pocket to pay for it, but I just pick it up because it was on the floor when I was leaving out, and it was by the cash register, and now I done violated my probation, and now I got another life sentence, right? And I'm back in prison all over a 20-cent stick of bubble gum. So it's the thinking that you got to check, right? So this is why I always say that we must emancipate our mind state, free our mind state, right? We have to take control of our thinking, and it's something that I learned inside of the community reentry program. This is something that I learned. Restructuring the way that I think, right? Becoming a responsible thinker. And entering into the cognitive community, I learned that when I help other individuals prepare for their reentry back out into society, it helped me learn the error of my thinking process, right? And to correct it. So as when I entered into the cognitive community, it gave me the opportunity, right, to take advantage of all these different educational opportunities that I would not have been exposed to when I was out in general population, right? And I did this with life sentences. Even though I haven't had my resentencing at this particular moment, I still had my life sentences because they're not removed until you're actually resentenced. So I was in a cognitive community. Every 6 months, everybody in that pod is going home. So this would do something to you, right? But I still had hope. I knew that, like, regardless, even though I was serving this sentence, right, that deprived me of hope, one day I'm going to get home, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to surround myself by these people, right, who are going home so I can draw that type of energy on myself, right? And that's what I would do. I would prepare these guys. I would wake up every single day, co-facilitating programs, right? Participating in programs, practicing my public speaking, and helping other individuals learn their strengths, right? And helping build those strengths up and helping them become more productive so that when they enter society, they can stay out in society, because the goal of the community, it is not to get out, but it's to stay out. So these are some of the things that I learned through my journey while in the Virginia Department of Corrections, while serving as an elder in the cognitive community. It was hard. It was difficult. But when I understand and make that connection, the wisdom behind it, it was supposed to be difficult. It was supposed to be hard. I haven't been on the streets since I was 16, 17 years old. It's no way that you can take a person who's been incarcerated for 17 years old since the age of 17 and not expose them to any type of education, right? And think that they're going to get out in society and just be successful. We need this preparation process, and this is the importance of the programs. Throughout my journey, one thing that I was intentional about was my character, like shaping and molding my character and reputation and building my professional equity. And I've learned that people are more apt and willing to fight for you or me when I'm fighting for myself. And the best way that we can fight for ourselves is to make ourselves worthy of being fought for. And let me go a little deeper in that particular point. If while I'm fighting for my freedom, right, and I'm fighting for my freedom And I may deserve my freedom. Not saying that a person who falls short don't deserve their freedom. That's not the point that I'm making. But the point that I'm making is that if I'm being wronged and I still maintain good character while I'm being wronged, then it's easier for those who believe in me, right, to fight for me and to advocate on my behalf, if I'm still holding true to like who I say that I am. And I hope that this makes sense. So one thing that I did throughout my incarceration, I stayed away from infractions, right? And what I mean by that is I didn't act out. So I say this as encouragement to those who are still serving like sentences. If you feel like you're fighting for a second chance, hold true to your character. Don't give anyone any type of ammunition to use against you, right? See, because you can go to sleep in one condition and wake up in another condition, right? You can go to sleep with a hopeless sentence, a sentence that takes away hope, and wake up to your freedom. And it happened to me, right? So when it was time for me, I went back for my resentencing. Well, before I get to the resentencing, let me say this. While I was serving time in the Cognitive Community at Cestus One State Prison, I witnessed individuals who were grateful for this opportunity that they had to like re-enter society, and also individuals who wasn't grateful. And what I mean by that is didn't take it serious. And that's something that bothered me, right? You have some individuals who would take it serious and some who don't. But I want to say to everyone who's looking at this particular video right now, you have someone like me and there's others like me who are serving time, right? Who's giving back to their communities while they're incarcerated without a release date. So if you are one of those ones who are receiving like the help and assistance from these individuals, don't make it hard for them. See, because like I was in that situation and I didn't have hope. I created hope. When I say I didn't have hope, I'm talking about a release date. But still, I woke up every single day and came out to give it my all to help others get their second chance. So I just want everyone to like, take it serious. But let me fast forward to my resentencing hearing. I went back in 2017 and got resentenced. And the judge sentenced me to a sentence that gave me, well, actually, she gave me 25 years, for my capital murder, 20 years for malicious wounding, ran that concurrent with the 25 years, 10 years for robbery, ran that concurrent with the 25 years, and 12 months consecutive sentence for assault and battery. And pretty much she gave me a sentence that would mandate that I would be released in a couple of years. I didn't give up. I still woke up every single day coming out, helping others evolve into a better version of themselves, co-facilitating programs, and showing how I would react or how I would act if I was out of society facing challenges. If I didn't get my way out in society, how would I behave? I'm behaving that particular way while I was incarcerated in the Cognitive Community. So eventually, Governor Northam, he signed into law HB 35, which is a bill that mandated that or allow juvenile offenders to be eligible for parole after serving 20 years of their sentence. And I went up for parole and made first parole. I served a total of 26 years incarcerated, and I was released on September the 10th, 2021. That particular day that I was released, it was similar to the day that I was resentenced. The day that I was resentenced, I had so many wonderful people supporting me, all of my family. I have a very supportive family, right? All of my family, friends, supporters, advocates, they was in the Norfolk Circuit Court when I was resentenced, and that was a day, it was just like surreal. When I was resentenced, it felt like the weight of the world was lifted off of my shoulders, and I felt exhausted, like when the sentence was eventually lifted off of me. But when I walked out of that prison on September the 10th, 2021, I didn't believe it, right? I knew that that day would come, but when I walked out, I was waiting for someone to step out and say, listen, hold on, we got something else. You ain't finished your sentence. I literally was waiting for that, right? Why? Because I spent my life fighting, right? I thought I was exhausted. The majority of my life I spent fighting for my freedom. And I was so accustomed to that I didn't even know how to live in a state in which I didn't fight for my freedom. Right? So this is how it was. So I was expecting to be put back in a situation where I had to fight. But when I was released, my whole family was there. My legal team was there. My supporters were there. It was just wonderful. I've received so much support with my transition back into society. My family made it real easy for me. I was blessed. My legal team, my legal supporters was there for me, supporting me. I had support of individuals from the Virginia Department of Corrections. I had the support of my probation officer, who was very instrumental in my reentry and making, my reentry successful. I received support from so many different organizations since I was released. But since I was released, I've been out since September 10th, 2021. I'm married. I have a beautiful daughter. I'm a homeowner. I own my own home. I've obtained so many different certifications. I'm a registered peer recovery specialist. I'm a certified peer recovery specialist. I'm an integrated forensic peer recovery specialist, a problem gambling peer recovery specialist. I'm a business owner. I own my own business, Azim Majid LLC. I'm doing wonderful. But the beautiful thing, the point that I want to highlight is this. Every single relationship that I forged while I was incarcerated with those who were in the Department of Corrections, those who weren't part of the Virginia Department of Corrections, everybody who believed in me and who I was, they're still a part of my team today, right? They're still a part of my team today. And I'm at the point where life is wonderful. Life is wonderful. My transition was wonderful. I don't have a care in the world right now in terms of I'm not stressed out about anything. Since being out in society, all of the tools that I learned while I was in the cognitive community have proven to be successful out here in society. And we have to understand, had I not been exposed to that education, then I don't believe that I would be as successful as I am right now. But also being exposed to the education and the help is not enough, right? What I need, you have to be able to accept it. The only thing in life that anybody can have complete control over is their mind. But so few people have control over their mind. And so this is one of the reasons why I reference a lot my journey in the cognitive community as it relates to the education that I extracted from that experience. One example I like using is that before I entered into the cognitive community, as I said, I obtained a lot of different education from so many different perspectives. But if you have encyclopedias, right? You have all volumes of encyclopedias that you want. You throw them inside of a room and they're not in between binders, and someone asks you to go retrieve some information from that encyclopedia. It's going to be hard because the papers are everywhere. The binders, they're not it's not organized. But if you take all of those pages and you organize them according to alphabetically and according to topic and so on and so forth. If someone asks you to go retrieve that information, if you go to retrieve that information, you can successfully retrieve it, without, a challenge. And I equate this to my journey in the cognitive community, in which I started learning about the 4 steps of responsible thinking, and being able to take control of my thoughts, being able to look at my thoughts in real time from an objective standpoint, and to recognize whenever there was an error in my way of thinking, and being able to remove that thought and replace that thought with a healthy thought, so that if I act upon it, then the consequences that attaches to that thought is less severe. And this is one of the most beneficial lessons or tools that I extracted from the cognitive community. And I've taken that and it translated into my life, my everyday life out in society. I put forth the effort to make sure that I'm a responsible thinker each and every day, because I know that the moment that I stop being a responsible thinker and I become an irresponsible thinker is the moment that I give someone else control over my mind. And the consequence of that, I will react emotionally and I'm back in prison. The second point that I want to make is that, well, I spend my days out in society. I traveled the nation, like speaking different state to state, speaking to the youth, speaking in different audiences. I was able to speak, at different conferences, universities, colleges, detention homes, prisons, you name it, I do it. I share my experience. I mentor the youth. I'm engaged in, mentoring, offering peer support services to those who suffer from problem gambling and addiction, those who suffer from alcohol addiction. I do a lot out in society, giving back to my community. I advocate at parole hearings for those who are still incarcerated. I help prepare parole petitions and clemency petitions. Whatever I can do to help people earn a second chance, right, and to become better versions of themselves out in society and while they're incarcerated, I do it. I work tirelessly, day in and day out, to give back to my community. Another point that I want to make is that if I was to had one thing that I could say to the youth that I believe that could benefit them, I would say to the youth is don't make a permanent decision based upon a temporary emotion. The way that you feel today, I can assure you, you're not going to feel next week. So if you make a decision based upon how you feel today, impulsively, it can cause you to be sitting in the situation that I was sitting in, serving life without parole over an emotion that you're not going to feel forever. And it's not worth it. If I was to talk to the village, I would say this to the village. Azim Majid is who he is because of his faith, first and foremost, and because of the people that believed in him. I don't spend my time trying to prove the people wrong who disbelieved in me. I spend my days and nights proving the people right who believed in me. I'm here because of the people who believed in me. If I had no one who believed in me, yes, I would have believed in myself, but it would have been 100 times harder getting to where I'm at today. So it takes support, right? It takes people. We have to support the people. So I would say to the families who have people, returning citizens coming home to them, support them and listen to the returning citizens. Listen to them when they say, in the manner in which they say that they want to be supported. See, because sometimes you can love them in a manner that they're really not needing, and it can do more harm than good. One quick example, you can shower your loved one with so much attention, right? Coming home, and it can be overwhelming to them. It was overwhelming for me. I have a wonderful family. I had to communicate to my family to please slow down. They were there for me 100%. But I've spent 26 years incarcerated, and I wasn't used to being around people like that. And it was overwhelming to me. I had to become deinstitutionalized from the prison norms and become reinstitutionalized to societal norms, right? So it was a process. So I had to communicate that to my family, and they listened. But if I was to say anything to the village, support your loved ones, right? But don't just choose any type of support that you want to give to them, right? Listen to them on the support that they say that they need. And you have to be patient with them. Be patient and don't personalize it. I know when I first came home, and I want to say this before I conclude this, I used to be in gatherings with my family, and then I would peel off and go into my room, and I would need time alone. And eventually I had to explain that to them. It wasn't them. They're not doing it. It's not them, it's me. It's me. I have to become comfortable being out in society again. I have to become comfortable with being around people again, even if it's loved ones. I have to relearn you all just like you have to relearn me. So I say that to you all, be patient. Don't personalize it. It's difficult, right? It's difficult. You got to think because we've got to come out here and it's 26 years worth of technological advancements that I have to adapt to in one day. I tell people all the time, I was taught how to use the self-checkout by a 9-year-old. I'm 45 years old. A 9-year-old taught me how to use self-checkout. But you know what gave me the ability to get out of my own way? Those tools that I just taught you all about, that I just spoke of, being a responsible thinker. I got out of my own way, and I was able to allow a 9-year-old to teach me how to use self-checkout. But the reality is, and the beautiful thing is, I know how to do it now.